So the hip flexor is located in the front of our body near the groin, and that can cause a lot of movement challenges, such as a pull in the lower back. Because the hip flexor actually starts from the front of the pelvis, the pelvic girdle, and it goes through the body and it attaches to the back of your body on the lower part of your spine, just above the tailbone. This is where a lot of people tend to say that they experience low back pain. It's not necessarily low back pain where it's being started. It's basically that hip flexor pulling on that lower spine. So what we want to do is kind of alleviate some of that tension into that hip flexor so that we can do a lot more movement and then get back into work without any lower back pain. So we have two tools here. One is a foam roller. This is about a 24-inch foam roller, 2 feet tall. And now this is more of a dense one, like a packing material. If you have a PVC one with trigger points, totally fine. However, the roller itself is not going to get deep into the hip flexor, but if we have a large amount of inflammation or it's just really tender, a foam roller is going to be better than the second option, which is going to be like a ball. Now I'm using a baseball here because it's firm. It's small enough to get into my hip flexor, and you can use any type of ball that's like this, even like a lacrosse ball, what they call a massager or a myofascia ball. Any of those work. I prefer baseballs. One, because you can go to play it against sports and you can get a good baseball used for a pretty decent price, just under like a couple bucks. So I'm going to use this baseball as well as the foam roller, but we're going to start off on how to use the foam roller. So when I go into that foam roller, what I want to do is I want to make sure that the foam roller comes at an angle towards the side that I'm going on, right here. So if I'm working on this left hip flexor, I want it to be angled towards my right knee and the top part towards my hip. So that way when I lay into it, I'm going to be getting into that area a little bit more. Now I also want to make sure that I don't have it fully across my groin and all the way to the leg, because I'm not able to apply pressure just to that hip flexor. The pressure is going to be along over the entire roller equally because my hips will square out. So what I'm going to do is first, let me adjust this so that you can see. It's at an angle here. I'm actually going to use my right hip flexor so that we can see. I'm going to slide that into my knee so that I can get into this area, and I want to make sure that the rest of the roller is between my legs and not across my groin. So here, I'm going to slowly lay down into it, lift this knee. See how I brought that knee up? Then I'm going to come down into my hips, and using the back leg, I'm going to kind of roll forward and back. I'm going to be careful not to go into my groin too much. Otherwise, it's just not going to be a pleasant feeling. I want to stay more towards the outside of that hip. Now, this can be very tender for some people. If it's not, then the tension that you're feeling in the hip flexor is a little more deep rooted in the hip flexor rather than towards the front. Okay, I got that. All good. What I want to do is I want to mash, smash, and move. So I'm mashing my hips into the roller. I'm smashing by rotating my hip left and right. Now I'm going to move. How I do that is I'm going to take my right foot, and I'm going to bring it up towards my heel as I keep moving. I'm going to extend the leg, bring it back in. Because what happens when you move is you expose other areas of that musculature by moving other muscles out of the way. That's what the movement does. And sometimes it can allow a little more circulation of any inflammation you've built up that you were trying to release. And it might even let the muscle itself finally relax rather than tense up. So that was with the foam roller. Now I'm going to do the same thing with a ball. Now the ball is going to be a little bit more intense because it's a smaller surface base, so it's going to get really deep into that area. So imagine this is my hips. When I press into it, right now I have the fingers tight. Once I relax, it's going to relax around the ball, and the ball is going to apply more pressure into the point that's leaning onto it. So from there, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lay into my hip. This one I can just stay on the ground. I place it into the area that I want to get into, and then I'm just going to mash, smash, and move. I'm going to mash that hip flexor into it, find that tender area. Now I'm going to kind of smash it. Ooh, that feels good. And I'm going to move the leg again, just like I did when I did the other exercise. I'm sorry, with the other foam roller, okay? Mash, smash, and move. Oh, yeah. It hurts so good. So, this is one of the best ways to alleviate some back pain that you may be having or experiencing. And that back pain really comes from the hip flexors, okay? So you could use a baseball. Now remember, if it's too tender for a baseball or a lacrosse ball or any type of ball, you can always use a foam roller. Be careful not to use a long one. If you use a long one, it's gonna be too long, and so you may wanna just cut it in half. So if you already have a foam roller that's a long one, roughly about 3 or 4 feet, you wanna cut that puppy in half. Hey, this is Coach Joseph, and if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to hit me up. I'm available for any questions, and I'll catch you at the finish line. Au root!